I don't think you can wing it, because you're up against so many talented people. So I do think you have to have a base, and then you go into that room with your training in the back pocket, and then you're free to do your thing and improvise in the moment and do other things. But I just don't think this is something you can wing it. If this is your dream, I don't think you should wing your dream. Well, I just don't. Carpenters don't, and everybody else, everybody in the fields, in quote normal jobs, they had to train. So that doesn't mean you can't have your own style then as the salesman. One salesman's better than another. That's the way it goes. But they had to learn how to do that initially.
If you're a professional actor challenged by an increasingly fragmented industry, then this podcast is for you. The Hollywood Actor Podcast is an anthology made up of the stories of actors building their bodies of work by redefining themselves, reframing their goals, and reevaluating their opportunities. No matter where we are in our careers, we're always looking to be inspired and to share ourselves across our community. This podcast will offer that opportunity to guests and listeners alike, as we all discover what it means to be a working, professional, successful actor. This is Jamie Young, and you're listening to the Hollywood Actor Podcast. Today's guest is Killian McHugh. Killian is a commercial acting coach and creator of Killian's Workshop. Since the early 2000s, Killian has worked in every aspect of the commercial casting industry, from lobby person to camera person to session director to casting director. Learn more about his commercial acting workshop at killiansworkshop.com and follow Killian on Facebook for his rallying cries for the actionable changes we can make to bolster the health of our community. Now let's talk with Hollywood's own Killian McHugh.
I came up here from San Diego. I took my first acting class ever. Where I grew up, acting was not a thing that you would say out loud. And so when I got to San Diego, I took my first acting class and just fell in love with it, and it was everything I wanted it to be. And then realized I have to come up to LA if I want to do this. So I came up to LA and got a commercial agent and started booking commercially. And I booked my first film my first audition, I should say, I guess. But the first audition I ever went out on, I booked the film, and we flew to Atlanta and, not Atlanta, we flew to Georgia and shot this film. It was a horror film. But I thought I was like, this is going to be easy. I mean, my first one, I book and I'm on a plane. I was like, this is going to be cake.
We've had different actors that were on the podcast that were talking about how much training can weigh you down, how much experience can start to get in the way of things. And so I do feel like there is something about being fresh, being free in those auditions too.
Well, I'll say it a little differently than you. I think training is important. But what I also think is that for the theatrical world, especially, I think you need to go to different places, not just one. I only go here for 6, 7, 8 years. I think if you're an actor in Hollywood and you are into classes, I think that you need to switch it up like every 2 years, because they get in your head, they become gurus. You feel guilty if you don't show up, and then a lot of times you end up trying to please the teacher in the scene rather than you actually being in the scene, But I do think training is important. But the fresh thing, I would know all my lines, and I would meet with my scene partners a couple times, sure, but not over rehearse. Jackie Gleason didn't rehearse at all and would just walk on and do the thing. I don't believe him. I think that at home he did it over and over and over and over. So I think you can be over-rehearsed, and I think you can be over-trained, yes. But I do think training is important. In any field, you have to know what you're doing a little bit, You have to know the rules before you can break them. That's another thing everybody always says, cliche, but I think it's true.
Well, that's what I always think. You have to have a firm foundation, and then you kind of you know how you work, and you know how the
Yes.
industry works, and how you can kind of start beginning to plug into that as an artist, and then in the field you learn much more about the artistry and the business side of things.
And I think also you learn what you can't do in a class. There are things that are teachable and things that aren't teachable, timing, humor. So you realize in class, oh, I'm deadpan guy, and that's what I do. You know, we have an actor that I booked in 1,000 things, and one day we called him in for something very specific, and we had a new assistant, and she was putting him on tape. And after a little while, she came upstairs and she's like, I don't know what to do. He's doing the same thing over and over and over. He won't change. And she didn't know him like we did. We said, oh my God, we don't want him to change. That's the whole point. That's what he does. And he does it 1,000 times. And that's what he does. He books deadpan. And that's all we want from him. She was trying to get all this range. And so I think in a class, you learn, I'm not really good at this thing, but I'm very good at this thing.
Yeah, you understand your niche.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I've kind of been discovering with the idea of conservatory, BFA programs, MFA programs. Like when you are doing a class or a program for a good amount of time, you are trying to stretch yourself and learn all these tools that will serve you for the rest of your career, as opposed to maybe doing these classes more in the field or having these experiences in the field where you start narrowing down for yourself who you are in the industry, knowing what auditions maybe you should go to because you're that guy.
Well, it's also such a competitive business that I don't think you can wing it, you know, uh, because you're up against so many talented people. So I do think you have to have a base. And then you go into that room with your training in the back pocket, and then you're free to do your thing and improvise in the moment and do other things. But I just don't think this is something you can wing it. If this is your dream, I don't think you should wing your dreams. You know what I mean?
Why would you want to?
Well, I just don't. Carpenters don't, and everybody else, everybody in the fields, in quote normal jobs, they had to train. So that doesn't mean you can't have your own style then as the salesman. One salesman's better than another. That's the way it goes. But they had to learn how to do that initially.
And for your training, did you study drama at university in San Diego, or did you have conservatory training here in LA?
No, I just what I did was I took that first acting class. Well, I mean, my training was in my room alone every night growing up, doing every movie I saw, every play I watched, doing that alone. And then I took that first class in San Diego, and that changed me. And I came up here, and I got into theatrical class right away. And I didn't I didn't get up though for a long time. The class that I took allowed you to sit in on the master classes. I was in the beginner class. So I sat there 3 nights a week, every night for a year and didn't speak. I just watched. And then did my class on Saturday mornings because I didn't even know what I didn't know. I became a non union extra, making $40 a day on big movies, $40 a day before taxes. And because I didn't know how movies were made. So I wanted to see them. I didn't care about the money. I just wanted to see how a movie was made. So that's how I did my training.
It's a great way to learn. Get your feet wet. Not watching videos or reading books, but actually being on set.
I mean, it was so crazy, and it was so. I mean, I was so broke, and they're paying you $40, and it's a very long day, and you start very early in the morning. But it was just a fascinating. It was just a fascinating training, and you train fast, quickly. I was in a scene. I can't think of his name, but he was in that thing you do, and he dated Christina Applegate for a while, and so he's the star of the Harry Houdini movie, and I'm an extra, and I'm playing the old time cop. I have the old time uh, cop outfit on, and I'm going to lead him onto the stage. I'm his security. So before we call action, he starts chatting with me because he's a very nice guy, and I'm an extra, a non-union extra, and I said, "Please stop talking to me because I'm about to go on." And he looked at me like, because he thought I was being like a crazy actor, but then he looked in my face and saw the fear, and then I I followed it up with, I think I'm about to faint as soon as they call action. I just want you to know. And he didn't know what to do. So then I walk out on stage. I do not faint. We get out on stage, and they had the camera on a track, on a dolly, and it was moving towards us for a close up. And I'd never seen that before, so I'm fascinated. And there's like 300 extras because it's a Harry Houdini show. It's in a theater downtown. The director yells, "Cut!" "Killian." "Yes?" I'm mortified that he says my name in front of all these people. "Will you stop staring down the barrel of the camera, please?" Because I'd never seen that before. I was
Yeah.
fascinated. And I just said, "Oh, I didn't know I was in the shot." He's like, "It's just you and him, Killian. You're the only two people on stage. Let's do it again." So that was my introduction. So you learn very fast. And then you learn by watching other people, what the extras, where to go, where not to go, what to do, what to not touch. And I just decided to throw myself in right away.
That's the best advice, right? Just get your feet wet immediately. You will learn when that director calls out your name in front of everyone.
Yes, exactly. But for my training, I went to class on Saturdays, but I sat in the back of the room 3 nights a week from 7:30 to 10:30 for a year, just watching these actors to get that knowledge. So I think it's a balance of jump in. Actors ask me all the time, "I don't know if I'm ready. Should I look for a theatrical?" Just do it. Yes, of course you're ready. You're in my class. You're doing fine. Don't wait for your dreams, but keep studying.
I think it's surprising to a lot of people that actors are a lot of actors are intellectuals. We're perfectionists. We're trying to figure out what to do. We want people to like us, and we don't want to make that false step. We don't want to get messy or to fail so
Well, I
publicly.
see a lot of A types, which I think always fascinates me and I can see them immediately when they walk in the room in my classes, and I just find that interesting that so many people are that way, and in the arts as well. Um, and in fact, a couple people I've had to when they've taken a private with me, because what I teach it's a definite formula, and I had to explain it to them in math terms. And as soon as I did that, they got it completely. They were like, "Oh, now this makes sense. It's a math problem." And then they do the scene.
Right. That does seem opposite, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So when you got to LA and you started working on those classes, did you take your own advice? Did you go to class for 2 years and then start switching it up, moving from
Yeah,
classroom to classroom?
I moved around because I was very green, but I could feel this guru thing happening and this pleasing thing happening, and I didn't care for that. So and I wanted to see different opinions.
Yeah. When I moved to LA, I've been here about 3 years now. When I moved to LA, I saw that there were a lot of these studios that have books, that have methodologies that say, come in, forget what you know. You don't know much, but I will show you the way. This will be that math problem, like you were saying.
Yeah.
There is that one formula, and I also like finding these different tools. I think that everybody has a different insight into what they're trying to communicate.
Yes.
But there's not that one specific golden rule. There's not a 10 commandments type of situation going on.
Right. Well, so just so we're clear for your audience, in case they don't know, I teach commercials, teach how to book commercials. So I teach auditioning for commercials. That's not art, what I do. So in the theatrical world, which is what we're mostly talking about, I do believe acting is an art. So I don't think that there's this one formula, you know? Like what I always say in class is, I don't care about your acting talent. I never discuss acting. I don't critique your acting ability because I don't need it for you to book this commercial. Anybody can book a commercial if you do what I tell you to do. And that's a proven fact in this city. But for the theatrical world, I don't think anybody could say that they have that formula because I do believe it's an art. So we can have different opinions and different methods. But if somebody writes a book and says, this is the way, boom, 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 I don't believe that. I mean, Mary Tyler Moore did really well, and she went into one acting class and thought it was silly and walked out. And she did pretty well, you know?
And that was the end of that for Mary
And that was
Tyler
the end of
Moore?
that for her, and she did pretty well for herself. So
Right.
I think it's different in the theatrical world versus commercial world. And so I just think it's important to get different perspectives.
And speaking of the commercial world, I did want to ask how you were starting to find your way into casting.
Well, casting is the same for everybody. Nobody grows up and says, I want to be a casting director. I mean, nobody knows what that is. And so most everybody in casting started in acting. And then it's a job you kind of fall into.
Mm. Did you start at one commercial casting office, and that was kind of your segue into the commercial industry?
Well, no, I was a waiter like everybody else, and I was going out for commercials, and I couldn't take waiting tables another day. And a friend of mine said that she had heard that they were hiring at this specific place, and I went down, and then I never left. They hired me on the spot, and then I was front desk guy for a long time, and then I just started freelancing as an assistant for different casting offices, and then you become a session director, which is the person running the camera and giving direction. And then the next logical step is, if you want to, then you become a casting director.
Oh, and you opened your own office?
I was at a specific already settled office, and then I just became like an add-on, another casting director in this office.
I see. I was trying to do a little research on you, Killian. I was trying to find out what that office was and how you were establishing your first commercial casting office, because I know that predates your workshop on Melrose.
Yeah, but my workshop was before Melrose. But I left. You're not allowed to teach and cast in the city of LA. It's illegal. And so they busted a bunch of theatrical casting directors in last year in the Valley for doing that. It's called pay for play. So I made a decision that I love teaching and I love actors, and so I left casting so that I could teach.
Thanks for listening to the Hollywood Actor Podcast. If you enjoy this content, don't forget to rate and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening.